好的，我们参会即将开始喽。首先，非常谢谢我们的主任、院长以及各位医师哦，今天大家光临来到我们优势的所举办的来自于欧洲第2大水晶体制造商 Medicounter 所带来的全球只有绕射7圈的3焦点 Liberty 以及拥有 Pre-roll 装置的黄片 Elon 到底这2只水晶体在市场上跟所谓的传统的3焦还是现在的长延焦，到底有什么不同的地方我想我们今天内容非常的丰富，到底是否这2只水晶体可以带来我们医师给病患是不是有不同的更好的功能的看见呢？我想我们今天有邀请非常多的贵宾，重量级的医师来跟我们做一些讨论。那在此的同时呢，我们画面上有看到 QR code 这是我们来自于国外的 KOL Dr. Harvey 呢，他想要做一个研讨想要邀请我们的台湾的医师呢来做一个这个想要知道说，我们台湾医师针对不同的病患多常使用是怎么样的一个水晶体所以欢迎我们的医师可以扫一下 QR code 有一些回馈那当然在今天晚上的过程当中，如果我们医师呢在享用的佳肴的同时呢，如果想提问一些问题我们桌上有 QR code， 所以医师可以写下你的问题，然后我们会集结问题，然后来回答我们的医师团队们好，那接下来我们今天非常的荣幸有邀请到市立联合中校院所的方怡模方副院长来担任我们的 moderator， 所以接下来我们就将这个时间交给我们最稳重最帅气的方副院长，请掌声热烈欢迎。
谢谢大家那这个在这个台风夜尤其是那个今天晚上是那个中日大战的时候那可以来这边表示大家对于那个不管是优势的还是这个人工水晶体还是眼科一定是真爱啦那其实我自己也不晓得为什么前一阵子就自己开始算一算说，我自己担任眼科医师可能是因为我看到自己头发越来越少了所以看看我担任眼科医师也大概29年了那20几年了不要把数字讲起来那其实我自己也慢慢去回想一下，说我从以前到现在，那从以前住院医师时代到现在，其实我们看到新的一代的人，或者是大家整体开刀水晶体的开白内障的技术不管随着机器越来越好，或者是这个 IOL 的量测技术越来越好，那我们其实我们自己扪心自己想一想，病人的满意度有没有越来越好那尤其这个我自己在这个我们私立医院里面那白内障手术也不少那我常自己回想一下我自己的病人那我自己也反复想一下，说我大概有多少 percentage 我是放 multifocal IOL那这些人他的满意度怎么样那总是有一些人我们就会很不放心，你即使他的refraction 是很好那我们也自己的怎么会有那个回音的那不管是我们这个量测出来的度数什么都很好，但是就是病人有时候就会不满意那所以我们今天我一听到其实有这个Elon新品的发表还有 Liberty 的一个发表那我是很高兴。我们希望说我们眼科医师有越来越多的一个武器那随着我们使用的经验或者是这个科技的一个进步，我们的水晶体能够做到更好的部分，让我们眼科医师能够很reliable然后很信赖的去使用它。那今天我们很高兴这个优势的公司，谢谢优势的团队那给我们这么好的一个场地，那这么好的一个讲师那我们今天我们总共有3位这个讲师那我们就进行到第一个 topic 是我们请这个是Mr. Tibet Tibet 不好意思 Tibet 对 Tibet 那最重要他是这个Medicounter 的这个 Expert and Application Manager 那今天来跟我们讲一下关于这个Elon的一个新品的一个介绍那跟大家讲一下等一下我们有一个那个讲者菲律宾的我们的 Dr. Harvey 那他本身是华侨了所以我们大家提问的时候大家就不用太有压力说一定要用英文了我们就可以还是用中文沟通，大家这样吃起来可能消化会比较好一点那在这跟大家说明一下好，谢谢那我们请这个 T-Ball 谢谢。
谢谢方副。
Good evening, everyone. I'm very glad to be here. Thank you for coming. I'm sorry I can't do this presentation in Mandarin, but I hope I can get myself across in English. So the aim today is for me to share with you the two technology from the premium iOS at Medicontour. So first of all, I will go through the Medicontour portfolio, how it was developed, and then we will dive deeper into the technology that we have behind our lenses. So at first, of course, at Medicontour, we developed the monofocal IOL, the preloaded, hydrophobic. We do have, after that, developed the Liberty lens, which is a trifocal lens. And so basically, the more vision you want, the more risky it is for the patient. And the more vision you want, the more pricey it is. So we wanted to have an IOL in between those. So we call it the Elon, which is an IOL that enters into the EDOF lenses for extended depth of focus. So I will first, before I go to the Elon technology, I have to define with you what we consider as an EDOF lens. So we decide to share with you this evening the classification of the American National Standard Institute. So basically there is 3 criteria you want to respect to be considered as a real EDOF lens. So the first criteria, which is number 3 here. So in green, this is the defocus curve of the Elon IOL, and in gray, this is the monofocal lens. So first criteria, number 3 on the graph, you need to have as good far vision as a monofocal lens, of course, because you don't want to lose in far vision. Second criteria to respect, you want to improve your intermediary distances at 1.5 diopter. So at least 50% of your patient has to reach logMAR 0.2 in intermediate distances. And third criteria you want to respect is to have a defocus between the monofocal lens and the EDOF lens of at least 0.5 diopter. So in the non-diffractive technology to achieve that, there is 2 approaches. There is the spherical aberration approach, which is mostly used for monofocal plus lenses. And this is what we call real EDOF, the approach of wavefront manipulating technology. So in this category, there is, we are 2 manufacturers in this category. There is Alcon with the VVT and Medicontour with the Elon. So how this technology works? As every EDOF lenses, the goal is to have a continuous line to have a sharp vision for every object up until far vision up until 60 centimeter intermediate distances. So the idea is to reach this continuous defocus line. This is what we want to achieve. So how did we do that? Here at the very top, you can see one lens with one curvature radius. So this is a monofocal lens. If on this refractive zone you add a second refractive zone, you will have a bifocal refractive. And if on this same double refractive you add a third refractive zone, you will have a trifocal refractive lens with 3 focal points. So at first, this is what we design on the Elon IOL. So you can see there is 3 distinct refractive zones, which are located in the 2 millimeter central part of the lens. So here was the lens was designed like this, and where the technology comes into play is the wavefront linking. What is wavefront linking? Wavefront linking is a way to change the curvature in between the linking zone, in between those 3 refractive zones. So if you vary the linking zone by a little, you will extend each focal points. So from your trifocal refractive, you will expand each focal point until they merge together. And doing so, you will have this continuous line that we wanted to achieve. Again, you can see at the very top there is no linking zone. So you have a refractive trifocal lens. And when you are linking the zone with the wavefront linking technology, in between the 3 refractive zones, you will extend each of your focal points until you have this line. So this is the profile of the IOLs, Magnify. So you can see there is 3 refractive zones. And in between those 3 refractive zones, this is where we have our technology, the linking zone, which allow to expand each focal point until they merge together. So by doing so, we have a continuous focus of vision, and we use only refractive technology, so you don't have all the downturns of the diffractive technology. So the Elon is a fully preloaded hydrophobic lenses. It comes with the Abe number, which is very high, the highest on the market. So you have low chromatic aberration. The material is a SEMTE material. It's a hydrophobic material developed by Medicontour, which is glistening free. And as every premium lenses, it's very key to correct the corneal astigmatism as little as it is if you want to improve your results. So of course we do have a toric version available from cylinder 1 up until 6. So how this lens perform against monofocal plus? Here you can see the 3 defocus curve of 3 monofocal plus on the market, Ions, Isopure, and Vivinex Impress. So you can see that the lens perform quite well with the, compared to monofocal, you gain in intermediate distances. But here in green, this is the defocus curve with the Elon. So you can see there is a significant gain for intermediate distances. So for far vision, it competes as the same. So you have a nice far vision. And in intermediate, the key point here is at 67 centimeter, 1.5 defocus diopters, you will be at logMAR 0.2, whereas monofocal plus lenses stands around 0.2. So this is a real gain for the patient. And also you will gain a little bit in near vision. So we like to call it functional near vision, but this lens is not designed to get spectacle free, but you will have a better, of course, near distance compared to monofocal lenses. On this graph, you can see the MTF curve of the Elon relative to the VVT. So you can see that the lenses are performing quite the same in terms of how the light is treated through the lenses. So we expect similar results actually. On this graph, you can see this is a study with 37 eyes with the Elon. So you can see that in light green, this is monocular, and in dark green, it's binocular. So you can see that there is a sum-up effect with this IOL. And you have fantastic far vision, and on binocular, you have very good intermediate distances with over logMAR 0. Also, this lens is non-diffractive, so it allows you to keep good contrast sensitivities on the defocus curves. So there is many lenses on the market, Rio-Ledoff or Monoflux that are available, but where, if you are used to the VVT, for example, where it stands out, this is our hydrophobic material, which is glistening free. The Abe number is also higher on the market, so you have less chromatic aberration. We have a design I will share with you afterwards that is very stable. And the power range. Today we have the widest power range from 8 to 35 and from cylinder 1 to cylinder 6. And it is fully preloaded in our injector, whereas the VVT lens is not preloaded at the moment. So this is the key points about the Elon. Rio-Ledoff preloaded, as good as VVT. We have very good rotational stability of the lens through our designs. And this is, of course, aspheric optic as many premium IOLs. So if you want to start in your practice to use the Elon, there is just few tips that we have the best results when we start like this. So I want to share with you, be careful about the corneal astigmatism. Starting from 0.6 against the rules, please be careful, and you might need to go with the toric IOL if you want to improve your results. And also, we optimize the outcome on the dominant eye, target the first positive value. Whereas on the non-dominant eye, you can target the first negative value. Like this, you will create a little bit depth of focus, and you will optimize the results and patient satisfaction. So the expert will talk more about their results with the lens, but this is the key points for the Elon. So now we'll introduce the technology behind our Liberty lens. So the Elon is not designed to be spectacle-free. It's not designed to have near vision. It's from far up until intermediate distances, whereas the Liberty is the lens designed to be spectacle-free. So for me, in order to introduce the technology behind the Liberty lens, I will just go through a quick reminder of how trifocal diffractive lenses were developed in the past and how ours is different. So the basic of trifocality, at first, you take a monofocal base of an IOL, and then you add one diffractive element. This diffractive element will act like a convex lenses, like an addition. So by doing so, you obtain a bifocal diffractive lens because you add one diffractive element for near vision on a monofocal far vision lenses. So adding a diffractive element, it will diffract the diffraction of the light. So it's a little bit like a physics phenomenon, but what we have to remember is that when the light goes through this diffractive element, part of the light will be not deviated at all, which is what we call order 0. So it's like the far vision. And second part of the light will be deviating towards the first order, which is the near vision. Other part of the light will be on second order, but it's 4%, so it's not useful in our case. So here's the modelization of two diffractive elements. The wide of the diffractive steps define the power of the addition. So the power represented by your diffractive element. So the wider is the steps, the lower is the addition. So at the top here, you have a diffractive element of 3.5 addition, and under you have 1.75 diffractive element. So the first trifocal IOL was designed quite simply, I would say, because they just put at the top of them the two diffractive elements on the same platform. So as you can see here. So you will have one diffractive addition for near and a second diffractive elements for intermediate distances. Like this, you will have your two focal points for intermediate and near vision. So just a quick reminder of what is apodization. This is an illustration of the diffractive steps. So I told you the larger of the steps define the addition, but the heights of the steps define the distribution between order 0 and order 1. So it defines how many energy you want to allocate without deviating for far vision or to the near vision in order 1. So here there is 3 diffractive elements, and you can see the wide of the steps are the same. So it represents same additions, diffractive element of the same addition. Whereas the height of the steps at the very top are higher than the other. So there is more energy towards the first diffractive order, so towards near vision. Whereas just in the middle, you have less height, so there is less energy towards first order, so more energy towards 0, so towards far vision. So if you have a design what is apodization? Apodization is the decrease of the heights of the steps from central part of the lens to the peripheral part. So like this, you can distribute the light differently regarding of the pupil size. So it makes the Liberty lens is an apodized lens, so it makes the lens very sensitive to pupil size, but we can optimize light distribution in such a way. So here you might recognize many trifocal lenses of the market, Fine Vision, Atelisa, Panoptics. And my point here, you can see that almost all the optic surface is covered with diffractive steps. Because, why? Because there is two diffractive addition, because they want to reach the trifocality. And this is where Medicontour Liberty lens stands out. So the lens is available in toric. We have a wide range, but I will continue with the technology because this is what we are interested. So you can see here, you can see the optic of the lens, and you can see that there is only 7 diffractive rings, which is much lower than the competition because all the other IOLs are around 20 diffractive steps. So you have on the optic 75%, which is refractive, only 25% diffractive. So by this design, you will automatically have less halos and glares and dysphotopsia. So how did we do that? So as I told you, we take monofocal IOLs as a base, as always, and we add 1 diffractive element for near vision, addition 3.5. So if I stop here, you would say to me, okay, so this lens is a bifocal diffractive lens because there is only 1 diffractive element. So the technology of Medicontour happens here of what we call EPS. So to understand what is EPS, I'm sorry, I have to go back to diffraction. So again, you can see at the very middle here is the order 0, which is far vision. And the first blue are order 1, so near vision. And in between, you can see that there is a loss of energy. There is no light energy in between far vision and in between near vision. Why there is no energy? Because there is destructive interferences that's happening there. So basically, the phase of the light are in opposition, so they're just canceling each other. This is why we don't have energy for intermediate distance at this point. So what we wanted to design, we wanted to have energy in intermediate distances. This is what we wanted to do. So we managed to create constructive interferences in these intermediate distances. So we design constructive interferences by shifting the phase of the light. So we call it the EPS technology. So this is for elevated phase shift. So we start from destructive interferences, but we shift the phase of the light by half a phase. So instead of being destructive interferences, we have constructive interferences in this zone. So it allows to have energy for intermediate distances. So I can't tell you exactly how it's done, but it's a sur-elevation of the central part of the optics and playing with the diffractive steps. We are the only IOL manufacturer acting like this. So the key point of that is that you will have very less halos and glares, very less dysphotopsia, because the light scattering would be less by construction, because you have less diffractive elements. So the platform of the Liberty is a double C loop, so with some space in between the loops. This allows to have a very nice contact angle all the way through the capsular bag. So by having a big contact angle, you will have a very stable lens and a very central central lens. By this, we target our predicted ELP, so effective lens position in the bag. So it allows us to be very precise in subjective refraction of what we target. And also, I like this defocus curve because it's a study about 5 years with the lens. So you can see on this graph the defocus curve, which is interesting, which is trifocal lens defocus curve. And the key point here is that you have a refraction that remains stable over time because the lens remains stable in the bag. So our expert will dive deeper into this, but the key indication for the Liberty, of course, you want motivated patients that want to get rid of spectacles. Because it's a diffractive lens, of course, you will lose in contrast sensitivity, so you want to avoid retinopathy patients. Good tear film, it's important because it can weaken your visual outcomes. And this lens is, again, apodized. So apodized means we should be careful about the pupil. So it's very nice to optimize your result when you have a good pupil reflex, but at the same time, it makes it very tricky if the pupil is not normal. And if you want to start, we advise to start with hyperopic patients because they are the most easy to ease, the most easy to happy. So yeah, when it comes into trifocal lenses, we prefer under-promise and over-deliver all the time. But you need to spend time to speak with your patients to know what are their needs. Because there is also the downturns of the diffractive lenses, like halos and dysphotopsia, less than with more steps diffractive IOLs, but still. So by its unique construction with the EPS, the Liberty lens allows to have less visual disturbances. You keep a better contrast sensitivity because there is less light loss because we have one diffractive element less than other trifocal lenses. So it allows you to have good near vision, but also good near vision without lots of light. Even in mesopic condition, you will have nice near vision with the Liberty lens. Again, be careful of pupils because of apodization. And of course, as every premium IOL, we should correct corneal astigmatism as little as it is. So this would be my last slide, but just wanted to share with you what are the 3 pillars to have successful and happy patient when you go to premium IOLs. So you need to, of course, have a dialogue with your patient and to know what they need in terms of visual needs and what they expect from their implantation. Because when you do a trifocal lens, it comes at some cost of light scattering at night, always. But you need to know what would they need it. Of course, you need to have very good measurement with biometry, retina, pupillometry, of course, and so on. So if you have, you know the patient's needs, plus you have a good measurement, the third pillar that you need good calculation, of course. So we have, or now we have an optimized A constant for the Liberty. We have also a dedicated team at Medicontour for post-LASIK cases. You can send us your complicated cases and we will help you to do the calculation. And also, we advise to take in consideration posterior corneal astigmatism. So we have on our website, on our calculator, we have the AK formula to anticipate post-corneal astigmatism. And if you respect all those 3 pillars, we believe that you will have fantastic results with our products. Thank you very much. If you have any question, I would be happy to take it.
Thank you. People, yeah, OK. 我们等一下哈，就是因为刚才这个，我们把有问题最后再一起讨论哈，因为可能个饭店的这个时间比较紧哈，所以我们最后有留时间，我们就会在一起讨论哈。那接下来我们下一个进行下一个 speech 哈。那这个 It's my honor to introduce Dr. Heavy C. Wei 哈。Dr. Wei is a renowned ophthalmologist from the Philippines, specialized in the treatment of retinal disease and uveitis. He now is a clinical professor of ophthalmology at the University of Philippines at St. Luke Medical Center, as well as medical director of Peregrine Eye and Laser Institute. Dr. Heavy has served as the president of both the Philippine Academy of Ophthalmology and Vitreoretina Society of Philippines. He is also a counselor for APVIS and will serve as the Congress president for APVIS 2025. An active researcher, Dr. Heavy has contributed to the development of advanced technology such as femtosecond laser and cataract surgery and presbyopia correction, advanced IOL lenses design and the immunological study of uveitis, and the new vitreoretina surgical technology and the instrument. Dr. Heavy has received a number of awards for best research from both Philippine and international ophthalmology organization. Now he have two speeches tonight. The topic is sharing his personal experience with Elon and Liberty. Let's give him a big hand to welcome Dr. Heavy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Fang, for the very nice introduction. 今天晚上我很高兴回来台湾，结识新的朋友和吃好菜。现在我们要讲英文，因为如果我讲中文，你们全部会有头痛，也会开始下雨。So I'm very happy tonight, and thank you to MedContour for the opportunity to come here and share our practices in cataract surgery with their expanded IOL selections. These are my financial interests, and I do receive lecture fees from MedContour. So when I started practicing ophthalmology, cataract surgery was relatively simple. The only problem is, did you put the IOL in the eye or you did not put the IOL in the eye? But now it's become more complex because we now have many more IOL choices, and this is both a promise and a problem. It's a promise because we now have the opportunity to give patients very good vision, the vision they had when they were 30 years old. But it's also a problem because we are not successful all the time in putting the lens that will make the patients happy. We can have three classes of lenses: the monofocal lenses, the multifocal lenses, and the EDOF lenses. And we will not talk too much about the scientific background of this because Steve Bolt has done an excellent job introducing the subject. But basically, despite all of these lenses, we are not able to make 100% of our patients happy. And maybe part of it is our fault because maybe sometimes we're in a hurry in the clinic. We don't spend as much time studying the patients. But also part of it is that the human eye is very complex and we cannot understand all the aspects of the eye at the same time. So for this reason, most practices, we would have several IOLs in order to try to fit the IOL to the patient. And these are the IOLs that we use in our practice, but there are many more good IOLs out there. These are the main steps that we have to go through in order to increase the chance that we will give the patient the IOL that will make them happy. The first one is we have to sit down and we have to find out what the patient's needs are. Okay, what they do in their work, after work, in their leisure time, and then we can kind of get an idea what lens might benefit them. The second is we have to do a thorough analysis or screening of the patient, looking at both the front of the eye and the back of the eye, and find out if there are any conditions that might prohibit them from receiving or benefiting from some of the intraocular lenses. As Thibaut has mentioned, it's very important to perform accurate biometry and other measurements to help us get the right size and power of the lenses, both the spherical and the toric lenses. And finally, even after we have all of these things in front of us, we still have to sit down with the patient and discuss the different options and present what are the benefits and negatives of each IOL option. And eventually, the patient will have to decide what lens benefits them. Sometimes the patient cannot decide, so we have to give our best advice. So one of the lessons I learned early in practice is the doctor doesn't always know best. We had one patient, she was 2200 with a brown cataract. I put in a multifocal lens. The next day she's 20/20 for distance and near, and she tells me, "Doctor, this is the worst thing that ever happened in my life." I said, "How come? You can see very well for far and near." Because her hobby is looking at jewelry, and before the surgery, she was like -7 myopia. And now that I put this multifocal lens, when she looks at her jewelry, she can no longer see the details of the jewelry that she has. So fortunately, she still had the second eye, and in the second eye, I removed the cataract, and I made her -7 myopia, and now she's happy. So the patient will actually know best what's best for them, but it's important for us to listen, listen to patients and understand what their needs are. So we have to do some questions about their lifestyle, their work activities, their tolerance for halos and glare. Somebody who has to drive an hour or two at night to get from their house to their work or vice versa. These patients might not be the ones that we want to put in trifocal lenses. And we can do this face-to-face, or we can train our staff to ask these questions, or we can give them a questionnaire to be more efficient. And I think in the future, probably we'll have AI chatbots to do this for us. Also very important is to ask the patients about prior refractive surgery. Sometimes the patient will not tell you they had the refractive surgery. They may just say nothing has ever been done, but only when you look at the topography, then you see, oh, this patient definitely had refractive surgery. So we have to be very aware, and we have to train our technicians that when they make the IOL calculations, they should always ask the patients again, as a safety, whether the patient had laser surgery. And they have to use the correct IOL calculation formula in order to get the best results. So when we're looking at all the data and examining the patients, we look for corneal pathologies, and we look for other areas in the front of the eye which may result in inaccurate measurements or suboptimal outcomes. Like, for example, if a patient had endothelial dystrophy, put in a trifocal lens, you won't get a good result. So this is the process if we're going to use premium IOLs in our practice. History taking, we have to get a good history and find out what the needs of the patient are. Screen the patient well for anterior segment disease and posterior segment disease. You have good biometry instruments to measure lower order aberrations such as sphere and cylinder. And then for premium IOLs, it's standard for us to do either topography or wavefront aberrometry to look for these higher order aberrations. And if the patient has higher order aberration, sometimes this may be correctable. Sometimes the patient just has very bad dry eye, and you can lubricate them and have them come back, and this can improve. Or they might have some other ocular surface pathology that might be curable, such as a pterygium. You can remove this, have the patient come back after a few months, and the cornea may improve well enough that we can give them a multifocal lens. Okay, so once we have all this data, then we choose what lens is best for them. And these are some of the criteria we use. Sometimes it's the available power. As Thibault mentioned, Medicontour has a very wide range of powers, but in this part of the world where we have a lot of highly myopic patients, sometimes you need a +2 diopter. Will you make this for us, customize? Okay, he's not nodding his head. Okay, we have to make sure that there's no pathology. And then at the time of the surgery, we have to assess the patients whether their capsules are intact. Okay, sometimes the capsule is not intact. There might be a small tear, but we have used the Medcontour lenses even when there are small tears. And once you put the lens in the bag, it's very stable. There should also be good centration of the IOL. And sometimes you have to use a capsular tension ring to help achieve good centration of the IOL and consider the corneal higher order aberrations. This is just a guide, but in our practice, it's a helpful guide. So monofocal lenses, you can use this no matter what the higher order aberration is. Trifocal lenses, we like to have a very low higher order aberration. Usually we want, if it's like a 0.1 to 0.2, the patient has a very high chance of being happy with a trifocal lens. If it's getting close to from 0.2 to 0.3, then we want to have a nice conversation with the patient and make sure their expectations are, in case they're not happy, we might have to change the lens. And if we are not sure, and the patient's somewhere in between, then an EDOF lens is going to be safer than a trifocal lens. And make sure you discuss the possibility that you might have to exchange the IOL in order to make the patient happy. Always for premium lenses, either dilate the eye or at least do a good OCT examination of the retina. And if any of these conditions are present, do not have these patients undergo multifocal IOLs. You could consider a monofocal lens or an EDOF lens. So before the surgery, have a good discussion with the patient. Tell them what are the pros and cons of the different lenses. And then you have them decide what will best fit their lifestyle. These lenses tend to be costly, so we also have to discuss the cost implication of it. And if the patient cannot decide, then it's time that we make a recommendation. Remember, if you tell a patient that they might have glare and halos before the surgery and they have it after the surgery, then it's an expectation. They don't get upset. They knew that that might happen. But if you forget to tell them that they might have glare and halos after the surgery and they have it, then it's a complication. And now you have to spend a lot of time with these patients. And in some countries, you might even get sued for not telling them that this may happen. So we'll just go briefly over the Liberty trifocal lens. You've already seen this slide. There are many lenses out there in the market. And when we were first introduced to the Liberty trifocal lens with the 7 rings, the thought in our mind was, well, yes, this is going to greatly decrease the risk of halos and photic phenomenon that we see with other multifocal lenses. But the question was, will the patients actually be able to read with 7 rings? Okay, there was a time that most of the lenses, they had more and more rings being placed in order to give you greater reading power. But it turns out over time, and we probably implanted 100 of these Liberty lenses already, that we have very good distance as well as near and intermediate vision. So the promise of this lens was met. These in our experience, the patients have good visual outcomes as expected with a trifocal lens. And for these 100 patients, no patient has ever come and told me that they would have these glare and halos at night. And some patients, we would deliberately ask them if they see glare and halos, but they don't see it. One of the important advantages of this lens is that it's very pupil dependent. Okay. So we know that when we try to look near, like when you're looking at the food in front of you, you're accommodating, your pupil will become smaller. Okay. So when your pupil becomes smaller, the Liberty lens then devotes more light towards near vision. So this will help you see the food that you're eating. But when you're looking at a far distance, when you're walking or driving, then the Liberty lens, the pupil gets larger, and then the Liberty lens then allocates more light towards a distance. Okay, so this is a nice feature that allows you to optimize the light for near work and distance work. The other lenses also follow the same principles, but not as good as the Liberty lens. So for near, it probably has the highest allocation of light for near vision. And it also has probably the highest allocation of light for distance vision. So it maximizes the light for the patient's activity. So for near vision, you can see that the Liberty would allocate 40% of the light, and then for distance, 79% for distance. So it's nice to have this feature that helps patients maximize their vision under different lighting conditions and different activities. Because there are 7 rings, basically you expect to have less photic phenomenon or visual disturbances. And when you look at the comparison of different trifocal lenses in the market, the Liberty lens has the least light scattering of the different ones. So because of this feature, we basically have no patients complaining of halos and glare at night. And studies have also shown that when you look at the light scattering, the value for the Liberty lens is quite low compared to some of the other lenses. So it now also comes in the toric version, and we've only started to use the toric version, but we're getting results similar to the panoptic toric or the fine vision toric lenses. And we at least see that it's very stable over a few months. Another concern with multifocal lenses is PCO. The number one cause of unhappiness of trifocal or multifocal lenses is caused by PCO. So sometimes as early as 3 months after implantation of the trifocal lens, the patients would complain of blurred vision, which has to be relieved by YAG capsulotomy. Okay, so if you buy a car and after 3 months something's not wrong, you have to go back to the shop. They can fix it, but you're not happy, right? If you buy a car and 2 years later it's still running well, then you're happy. So the Liberty lens has this 360-degree square edge, and this feature should greatly decrease the possibility of PCO, at least in the short term. So that's another advantage of the Liberty design. So we're going to show you this video of a patient, a 69-year-old hyperope, and he had 1.5 sphere, but he had significant corneal astigmatism of 1.24 diopters. And here's the video of the implantation of the Liberty toric lens. So it goes in very nicely, and you can see that there's a very good centration. And what we like, actually, sometimes you can actually rotate this also a little bit counterclockwise. But once you've set the lens, it's very stable. And always remember to remove the viscoelastic from behind the lens to enhance the stability. So post-op, this patient had plano refraction with uncorrected distance visual acuity of 2020 up to near visual acuity is also 2020. So very happy patient. This was our first Liberty toric patient, and other subsequent patients were achieving the same results. So now let's go to the Elon technology. This slide was shown before. So what we like about the Elon is that the 15%, the central 2 millimeters covers 15% of the area, and 85% covers the outer refractive zone. So you only have these two refractive zones. But as was described earlier, the linking zones are actually the magic of it, because they create a continuous focus between the two focal points. And studies have shown that with the Elon, you have good visual acuity along the entire defocus curve. And there's also good contrast sensitivity. And that's expected because you only have two refractive elements here. So this will give you a better contrast. A recent study showed that the Elon lens has the least light distortion index among different multifocal lenses. So with this, we expect patients to be very happy. So it's just an extended depth of focus lens. It's preloaded, and it's a nice preloaded, real preloaded. In our experience, there doesn't seem to be any difference between the visual outcomes and refractive outcomes of Elon versus the Vivity lens. The design seems to be very robust, and the spheric optics gives us better night vision and fewer visual disturbances. So this chart just shows us how we recommend patients for Liberty and the Elon lens. So we started using the Liberty lens some years ago, and it has a very good multifocal function. So for patients who find that it's very important to read, we would recommend the Liberty lens. Now in the Philippines, in my practice, about 60% of patients are Huaqiao. Okay? And just like here in Taiwan, we read the traditional Chinese characters. Okay, so in the Philippine Tapao, we're using the traditional Chinese characters, not the shortcut. So these patients, they really want to have good sharp vision up close. So for these Huaqiao, we would recommend the Liberty lens. Okay. But we also want to evaluate what is the personality of these lenses. If the patient asks you, comes to you with a notepad with 50 questions about the surgery and the lens, we don't want to put the multifocal lens for these patients. Make sure that they don't have ocular pathologies. And if you're going to do a refractive lens exchange, start with patients who are hyperopic. Hyperopic patients are the ones who are most happy with presbyopia correcting lenses, because before the surgery, the far things are not clear. The near things are even worse. After the surgery, both improve. And even if it's not perfect, these patients are happy. How about for the Elon? What group of patients would we recommend the Elon to? So for these will be patients where reading documents or newspapers is not important. So these patients tend to be younger. They get their information from looking at their mobile phones, their tablets, their desktops, their laptops. So they're not so much, it's not so important for them to be able to read up close. If they're very demanding, if they, you think they would be upset if they would see glare and halos, then you would recommend the Elon over the Liberty. And for anyone with any of these pathologies that might compromise their vision, we would stay away from the Liberty and recommend the Elon lens. So let's look at some examples from our practice. One of the things that we like very much about the Elon lens is the preloaded. Okay. So we've had other IOLs in our practice where it comes in a preloaded form, but sometimes we wish that they did not preload it, because it actually gave us more headaches in the preloaded format than in the manual loading format. But the Elo one is, they basically made it foolproof for you to load and insert this lens. Okay. So the first foolproof thing is you just put the viscoelastic through this hole here. Okay, and as you put it, you can see that the viscoelastic will fill up the space. Okay, so now this gives you an idea you put in enough viscoelastic. The second foolproof thing is closing that cartridge by rotating this until it clicks. Okay, so if you do this, it's a lot easier than trying to close a cartridge because you have greater surface area to manipulate that cylinder and close it. And then you remove it, you remove the safety, and then you remove the cartridge. And now you're ready to insert the lens. So you insert the lens a little forward so that the viscoelastic will sort of reach almost the tip of the cartridge. And then you wait a few seconds before inserting the IOL into the eye. So in my practice, normally what I do, when I'm already removing when I finish removing the epinucleus and I'm starting to do the IOL, by this time I'm sure that my capsule will not be damaged anymore. So then I tell the nurses to start preparing it. So the nurses find that preparing this lens for injection is very easy and foolproof. Even if their eyes are not so good, they're able to do it. So that by the time it's ready, I've already cleaned up the cortex and 30 seconds have passed and I'm able to place the lens in easily. So here's the insertion of the Elon lens. It goes in very smoothly. Then when it's inside the eye, you just have to tuck the trailing haptic into the bag and then remove the viscoelastic. And you can see there's very nice centration of the lens. It easily centers in the eye. Okay, so here are some cases. This patient is a 62-year-old. She's had myopic LASIK some years ago. And now she wants spectacle independence. She's complaining that when she drives at night, there's some glare and halos. Her cataracts are quite minimal. We could actually even obtain 20/20 vision at night, but she didn't have very good intermediate and near vision. Looking at the eye, apart from the LASIK, she had normal anterior and posterior segments. When we did the topography, you can see that she had a significant amount of higher order aberrations. So this patient, we wouldn't want to put a Liberty lens because this patient, because her prior LASIK, she might have poor contrast and visual disturbances. So we recommended that she get the Elon lens, and she was very satisfied with the results. She was plano with a slight degree of cylinder and 20/20 for distance, intermediate, and near vision. So better than we expected. The second case is actually a doctor, and about a year before, he felt something flew into his eye while he was walking. And when he consulted, he was already hand motion vision. There was a grade 6 brunescent cataract. We couldn't see the fundus. We did a B scan. It was normal. But we don't know, because of this history of trauma, if there's any pathology, because we can't see the retina. The patient is willing to wear reading glasses as long as he's able to read his mobile phone. And we told him, there's a possibility that he might not do well if there's trauma to the macula. So you can see very thick cataract, and we were not able to do a very good capsulorhexis because there was also some trauma to his capsule. But we were able to successfully remove the cataract, and we put the Elon lens into this eye, even we don't have a perfect rhexis, but it's still centered very nicely. And the patient, 2 months after the surgery, he had good visual outcomes. The uncorrected distance visual acuity was 20/25. Good intermediate 20/30, and decent near vision of 20/40. We had purposely targeted a little myopia in this patient to help him read his cell phone. Okay, and this last case of the Elon lens, this is a 64-year-old female. She's she's hyperopic. She had mild diabetic retinopathy, and she wanted to get rid of her glasses. So she was plus 3.5 SPEAR, moderate visual impairment. We did the IOL master, and one of the nice things about the IOL master is it does give you this B scan of the fovea. And when we looked at it, you can clearly see that the fovea is thickened. So we know this patient probably has some amount of diabetic macular edema. So we told the patient she may need to get treated after the cataract surgery. But we think the cataract is the main cause of the poor vision. So after discussing this with the patient agrees to have the cataract surgery, and we implanted the Elon lens because there's a retina pathology. We don't want to put a trifocal lens. At the end of the surgery, we gave the patient intracameral dexamethasone. Next day, the patient's vision was good, very happy. 1 month later, the patient's vision deteriorated, now very unhappy. But we reminded the patient of our conversation, and we told them that there's a possibility they may need intravitreal injections to decrease the edema and improve the visual acuity. So we started to give this patient intravitreal bevacizumab or Avastin injections with improvement of the vision, and the patient was satisfied. So because we had that conversation before, the patient accepted that they may need treatment, and because we know there's a retinal pathology, the choice of our IOL was the extended depth of focus Elon, and generally we got good outcome. I doubt if we would get this good outcome if we had put a trifocal lens. So this is the first 10 patients that we put the Elon lens in. We put more now, and the mean age was about 63 years old, 10 eyes. 4 were cataract with some other ocular pathology. 4 were post-refractive patients, and 2 were cataract only. These patients all had visually significant cataracts, or they wanted to do refractive lens exchange. So before the surgery, there was moderate to severe visual loss. Most of these patients were a little bit myopic. The mean pupil size was 4 millimeters. And the mean absolute spherical equivalent was 1.62 diopters. The mean higher order aberration was 0.314. So in general, after implantation of the Elon, the patients improved their uncorrected distance visual acuity, their distance corrected visual acuity, and their intermediate visual acuity. Let's break this down into the refractive outcomes. So our targeted mean spherical equivalent after the surgery was 0.34, and what we actually got was minus 0.31. So very accurate. It was very accurate. We were able to get the expected refractive outcomes. So that means the A constant that they follow is generally correct. And there was also a big decrease in the absolute spherical activity of the patient, spherical equivalent of these patients. So these patients were able to have a significant correction of their refractive error after the surgery. Okay, if we looked at the 4 patients with who had prior laser refractive surgery of the cornea, these patients who have LASIK, when they come to you, they're very motivated to have a spectacle independence, which is why they had LASIK some years ago. So these patients, they really want to have a presbyopia correction. At the same time, these patients tend to have higher order aberrations, which can lead to suboptimal visual outcomes after the surgery. So we always do a topography in this patient, and if these patients had just moderate or low amounts of higher order aberration, then you can consider this EDOF lens. So this is one patient who came to us after another physician had done his cataract surgery and implanted a multifocal lens. So you can see that there are many rings here. It's a trifocal lens. But afterwards, even though the patient was generally plano with a small cylinder, the uncorrected distance visual acuity was 20/60, and the best corrected visual acuity was 20/40. And when you looked at the topography, there was a high amount of corneal higher order aberration. So we suggested to this patient we could change them to a monofocal lens. We can remove this lens. It was recent. We can change it to monofocal, or if you want, we can change it to an extended depth of focus lens. And that might give them some amount of intermediate or near vision. Okay. So again, these refractive patients, they're motivated for spectacle independence. So this patient, she chose to have the Elon lens, and we targeted a little myopia. We probably got a little bit more than what we wanted. That can sometimes happen in post-refractive patients. But her distance visual acuity was acceptable to her. She was 20/30 without correction, and her near visual acuity is 20/20. So she was very happy with the results. This now is the group of patients who never had refractive surgery and no pathology, and this was only in 2 eyes. And these patients, we placed the extended depth of focus lens because their main goal was, one, he wanted to drive at night without visual disturbances, but maybe at the same time see the G-maps or the Waze on the phone while they're driving. Okay, so if you just made them see distance, then if they have to look at the map while driving, it's not so clear. But if you give them extended depth of focus, then if they're driving at night and they're being guided by this map on their cell phone, then they're able to see it quite clearly. The other one, he didn't drive much, but he was interested in playing poker. So of course you want to be able to see some intermediate distance and see the cards being placed on the table. So these patients were very happy. And then this last group, these were patients with some other pathology. One had epiretinal membrane. A couple of eyes had diabetic macular edema. One of them we gave Avastin. And then one eye had ocular trauma. And generally we got good visual outcomes after the surgery with high patient satisfaction. And then the last, just this afternoon, Dr. Hans asked me if we had some cases of the add-on lens. This is also a product made by MedContour, and we'd like to share our experiences. So despite our best efforts, we won't get the perfect outcome every time. So some patients would have a significant refractive error, or some patients would change their mind later on. If we put in a monofocal lens, later on they'll say, I wish I had the presbyopia correction. And the add-on lens gives us a second chance to give the patients the vision that they want. So this patient is an 83-year-old pseudophakic patient. His surgery was done elsewhere, and the left eye, this was the outcome. There was +2 hyperopia and -1.5 sphere, and he needed reading glasses to read. But with correction, he could see 20/20, but now he's getting tired of wearing glasses. So we suggested to this patient that he get an add-on multifocal toric lens to correct all of these errors of refraction, the hyperopia, the astigmatism, and the presbyopia. So this is a video of the surgery. So this is not it's a manual loading. So you have to follow sort of like an inverted U configuration and make sure all of the haptics are tucked into this butterfly cartridge. Okay, make sure everything is under the edge of the cartridge before closing it. Okay. This is practically the easiest surgery you can do because there's already an IOL there and there's a stable platform. There's no chance of you damaging the capsule or getting vitreous loss because the cataract surgery has already been done. So what you just have to do is put this into the anterior chamber, or you can even try to put some of the haptics already in the posterior chamber. And then after the IOL's inside the eye, you use a Sinskey hook to tuck the 4 haptics behind the iris. It's very well designed because the 4 haptics give very good rotational stability to this lens. So if you're using, if if you're correcting for astigmatism, you would get very stable refractive outcomes. Unlike the supplemental lenses with the C-loop, they tend to rotate over time. But the 4-point fixation here gives you very stable outcomes. So then you remove the viscoelastic, and then at the end, we like to put a little myostat or carbachol to constrict the pupil. And this is just to make sure that all of the 4 haptics are in the posterior chamber. Because they're transparent, you want to make sure they're all where they should be and that none of them are still in the anterior chamber. So before the surgery, +2 hyperopia, minus 1.5 cylinder, and needing +2.5 reading glasses. After the surgery, the OS, without correction, 20/20 vision, and he could see 20/25 without correction. So he was very happy with this result. A second application is for high myopes. So, high myopes, like if you're -6, -7, they like to read up close. If you put a trifocal lens, they cannot read up close, they have to read farther. Sometimes these patients are unhappy. So when we encounter these patients, we would suggest to these patients that the first eye, the non-dominant eye, we would put in a trifocal lens. And if they're happy, then the second eye will also put in the trifocal lens. But if they're not happy with the trifocal lens, if they want to read closer, then the second eye, we will do the surgery in 2 steps. The first one is to put in a monofocal lens to give them good distance vision. And then we would put in the add-on Charioth macular lens, which gives you something like a +6 reading power, so they could read up close. So this patient, he had the refractive lens exchange 10 years ago, and now he's 50-something, and now he's starting to dislike wearing reading glasses. So we suggested that since he was highly myopic before, that we put in a Charioth macular lens to give him a good reading vision. So it's the same injection method. So after loading it into the butterfly cartridge, you insert the lens. Again, this is one of the most relaxing surgeries that we do because we have a nice, safe platform there. The first IOL protects the capsular bag, and it prevents vitreous from coming forward. So those risks are eliminated. You just have to make sure that all of the 4 haptics are tucked in. And if you're not trying to correct astigmatism, then it doesn't really matter where what the orientation of these haptics are. And at the end of the surgery, again, put some myostat to constrict the pupil just to make sure all 4 haptics are in the posterior chamber. So this patient, after we add on the Charioth macular lens, now without correction, he can see 20/20 without need for reading glasses. So all of these IO advances give us now more and more options to give patients the kind of vision they want. But it places a lot of pressure on us doctors. We have to be more vigilant. We have to spend some more time with these patients to understand what the patient's needs are and to screen patients who may not benefit from a certain type of lens. MedContour has given us 3 very powerful lenses that can help our patients achieve the lifestyle and the vision that they want. We just have to be aware that not all of these patients can benefit from all of these lenses. So add some chair time, gain the trust of the patients, and if all doesn't go well, there's a part 2. You could always put in an add-on lens to correct the problem later on. So thank you very much for your kind attention. Yes, the survey, yeah. So earlier...
This one.
Yeah, so earlier we had a survey question, so maybe we want to...
yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then we can do a Q&A.
Okay.
So this was the first question. What is your preferred approach for presbyopia correction? during cataract surgery. So it looks like a lot of people here are believers in the extended depth of focus lens already. 44% would put in an extended depth of focus. And then 27% would put in trifocal lenses, and some would put the mix and match combination. So as long as you discuss the options with your patient and you have good experience, I think these are good approaches. But hopefully with this discussion, you'll be more emboldened to try more of the trifocal lenses. Okay, next please. Can we scroll up? Dr. Fang, do you want to go over the results of this second slide?
Huh? What?
You want to go present the results of the second question? Main criteria?
What is the
Check.
main criteria for choosing a trifocal for your affected near? Because one criteria.
Yeah, 为什么我们要选
I know.
trifocal lens?
Yeah, because there are need for near, or more and more patients need a near reading. Yeah,
So the most important one is
61%.
it has to be effective. That's good. And then there's still some concern over photic phenomenon. So I think this is also very important. If you don't want headaches, we want a lens that gives us the least photic phenomenon. And from the discussion of Thibault and myself and my own personal experiences, using the 7 steps of the Liberty lenses will give you both effective near and intermediate reading with the least photic phenomenon. And then another thing that we notice about these Liberty lenses, you know how when you put an IOL, sometimes you see a reflection from the patient's pupil from the lens. It looks like we're not noticing it as much with the material of the MedContour lenses.
Yeah, Dr. Javier, may I ask for the first one question? The first one question. We see many in here. Doctors use the most trifocal or EDOF
The
lens.
EDOF, yes.
The trend with the same with your country or others place.
In our country, I think most are still using trifocals. But now there's an increasing number of doctors using the extended depth of focus lenses.
Okay.
We can go to number 3. Okay, Dr. Fang, would you read the number 3?
Okay, 60-year-old post-myopia LASIK patient with 2+ nucleus sclerosis cataract want to get rid of reading glasses. And the cornea high order abrasion was 0.24 micron at 4 millimeter pupil size, prefer IOL. So most people use our doctor here use the EDOF lens for 61.1%. And the second is the monofocal lens, and the other is trifocal lens for 16.7%. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, these patients are motivated not to wear glasses after their LASIK surgery, and they also motivated after the cataract surgery. We also do the same thing. We would also do the same thing in our practice. And normally we'll do one eye and see how they feel, and then after several weeks, then we decide on what the lens is. And sometimes we would mix and match. So with the first eye, for example, we put in an EDOF lens, and the second eye, and they say, I want to read better, then the second eye, we can make a decision. We could put in an EDOF lens with targeting a little more myopia, or if the higher order aberrations are very low, then we could put a trifocal lens, but also explaining if they're not happy, we can also exchange it to another lens. Then I think there's one more question, or is that the last one?
Okay, the last.
Okay.
The question for 70-year-old male diabetic with epiretinal membrane and 3+ cortical cataract prefer IOL. And most doctor here the equal with monofocus in metropia with reading glasses, and EDOF IOL with the 38.9%. The last is the monofocus with myopia. Yeah.
Okay, this is definitely a very smart audience. Stay away from the trifocal lens. You will not get a good result. But these are excellent options. So thank you again for listening, and we look forward to questions and answers. And please go ahead, Dr. Fang.
Okay. Thank you for Dr. Vivi for the wonderful talk and share very valuable experience for IOL uses. And we have a discussion in the final session. Yeah, please. 那最后一个topic 我们邀请到我们这个王梦琪院长了哈。那我想大家如果最近有看那个电视，可能就看到那个合利他命 F 的广告哈，就是我们看到最帅的那个王梦琪院长哈。那可以说是这个被眼科耽误的广告明星呐哈。那也是我们那个最帅的这个阿公哈，那么年轻就当阿公了哈。那我想我应该不用介绍啊，我想这个在座的所有的眼科医师一定都对王梦琪院长这个很认识哈。从我们以前小时候开始就听，不好意思啊，我故意这样讲。从我们那个开始的时候，我们就一直每年都有听到这个王梦琪院长的一个演讲哦。那我们这个很荣幸邀请到这个院长来帮我们讲哈。那今天也是这个来分享他对于这个 Elon 的这个 IOL 的一个使用的经验哈。那我们掌声欢迎这个。
Thank you for the introduction of the moderator. I hope I can give the presentation using English, but I worry if I use English, no anybody can know what I say. So I use Mandarin. At least the people here can understand. Okay, moderators and audience, I'm very glad to share my initial clinical experience of using Elon EDOF IOL. 好，我们知道我们从那个1986年的时候就开始用第一片 multifocal IOL。好，到现在已经40 years later。好，在市场上大家猜猜看有多少种？有100种可以矫正这个老花的一个水晶体哈。那我们孔老夫子跟我们讲说，40而不惑哈 ，at 40 have no doubts。好，但是我觉得我们还是对这些水晶体常常都会非常的迷惑，到底哪一种才是我们最好的哈？因为我们常常需要在 visual clarity 还有它的 depth of field 跟它的这个 dysphotopsia 之间去做一个选择哈。那常常让我们觉得非常的痛苦。那我们是希望说有一个水晶体能够让我们减少我们跟病人说明的时间，也减少患者在使用以后发生一些对我们不满意的地方哈，这样我们的这个职业的生涯就可以比较快乐一点点，我们的寿命也可以长一点点。好，那这个是我们 ESCRS 的这个 survey 哈，刚才那个方副院长已经有说过，这是不是一个世界上的一个趋势哈？那个 I guess in the near future the presbyopic IPL usage of presbyopic IOL will increasing year by year。好，那我们可以看到，我们以前常常就用三焦的水晶体来做使用哈，但是我想跟各位一样，这几年可能也慢慢的使用的这个EDOF的比例也越来越高哈。我们可以看到，在2023年的时候哈，这个已经快要到这个黄金交叉，或者是说死亡交叉。好，那我想在不久的将来，可能EDOF的使用会超过我们的 trifocal lens 哈。那这个是2020年 ESCRS 的一个 survey 哈。我们最不敢去担心去使用这些矫正老花水晶体，最主要的原因除了价格以外，最重要的就是说，我们怕它对这个 visual quality 的影响，还有它术后会产生这种optical disturbance 的一个状况哈。 那通常我们这些矫正老花的水晶体都是用所谓的 simultaneous vision 嘛，哈。那我们这个，不知道有没有那个 pointer？ 对，好，谢谢。好像这个，像这个，我们可以看得到哈，这个虽然它是有一点点叠影，但是比这个就好很多。好，那我们常在用三焦啦，或甚至我们用EDOF，有时候病人也会跟我们讲说，我虽然看得到，但是它旁边会有一个淡淡的影子。好，这个都是用 simultaneous vision 没有办法去避免的一个问题哈。那一般来讲，我们如果从 defocus curve 来看的话，要怎么样去减少这个重叠影像的一个干扰？最重要就是我们这 defocus curve， 我们要尽量的从这个双峰变到两个峰比较接近，好，甚至变成一个比较平坦的一个坡地。好，那为什么？因为这个地方是我们要看到的这个 image。好，那这边的这个光线的能量就是一些干扰的能量。好，如果能减少这个干扰的能量跟我们看到这个能量的一个比例，也就是这个 SN ratio 的话，那我们这个光线的干扰就可以大大的一个减少。好，那这个就是为什么我们用 EDOF 的 IOL， 它可以比较接近这个 monofocal IOL 的这个visual quality， 因为它的这个 defocus curve 相对上是比这个 bifocal 和 trifocal lens 要来的平坦一点点哈。那我们今天讲的这个 presbyopic IOL， 好，这个是对它的分类啦哈。那刚才这个Thibault 已经说明过它的分类哈，就是说它这个range of field 就是从这个 logma 0.2 这个视力的这个地方，我们画一条线。那看它这个 range， 它可以看多少？好，从这个零到这个多少的这个 diopter， 它可以看得到，这就是它的range of field 哈。那我们今天要讲的这个以 long 的这个 IOL， 它是属于这个partial 的 range of field， 那 extended depth 的，好，这样的一个 IOL。好，那我们要怎样设计一个EDOF IOL？ 好，这是单焦点的。好，如果远的东西看得到，那近的东西当然就不在焦点上，好，不在视网膜上。好，那最理想的状况就是说，这个光线我们聚焦以后，它变成一条线。那这条线的话，我们就可以看到很近的东西，它也在视网膜上。好，但是事实上，在我们的真实世界里，大概达不到这样理想的一个境界。好，我们最多就是把它造成一个像针头一样的一个 channel。好。那这个 channel 如果说越长的话，它可以看到的 range of field 就越广。好，这个针尖这个针头，这个针如果说越细的话，那表示说它的这个 visual quality 就越好。好，那我们希望就是设计一个这个光的路径，可以让它又长又尖。好，这样我们就可以达到我们想要的一个目的。好，那一般来讲，我们这个有不同的设计的方式啦。好，这几种我们一个一个来讲。那我们现在大概最像Liberty 啊，或者是 Elon， 就是用这种 wavefront shaping 的一个方式去做一个光学的一个设计哈。那第一片的 EDOF IOL 是 diffractive type 的 ，it's first EDOF IOL available on the market。好，它是2014年经过11哈，也蛮久了。好，那这样子的一个设计方式哈，我们可以看到它中间虽然是有一个比较长的，但是在前后这个地方光线还是避免不了会分散掉，而且我们知道有 diffraction ring 的时候，它就会有 light scatter 跟 energy 的 loss。好，所以一般来讲，你如果 diffraction ring 越多的话，它的 energy loss 越多，它可能看东西会觉得比较暗一点点。好，那另外就是说diffraction ring 越多的话，我自己个人的感觉啦，产生这个 halo 的这个可能性会比较高一点。好，所以刚才 Thibault 有特别提到说Liberty 是7个圈圈嘛，是不是？好 ，Lucky 7 ，Lucky 7的。好，那这个是就是说用这个 small aperture 的。 好，我们都知道针孔效应，照相机的原理就是，如果你把这个这个光圈把它调小一点，它就会得到比较长的景深。好，但是它的缺点是什么？因为你把瞳孔调小了，它的进光量就少了。好，所以也是会有 energy loss。好，所以一般来讲，这个大部分都只适合你单眼去置放这样的一个水晶体。好，那再来就是像 iHands 一样这样子的一个去调整它的 spherical aberration。好像现在市面上也有first order combined with the sixth order spherical aberration 去做一个这样的一个 deny， 但是基本上像 iHands 这样的一个水晶体，它的 depth of field 并不会太长，所以它看近的这个效能就没有办法达到太好的一个程度。好，那像这个 shape， 好的，这个就是我们比较喜欢的。好，大家看这个像什么？是不是像一个胜利的喇叭，让我们吹起胜利的号角吧？好，这是 the trumpet shape, the sound of triumph 。好 ，this is VVT, this is Elon, it's very similar 。好，那怎么样达到这样子？其实有很多光学的元件，我们是不太了解的哈。像我去查了一下。好，有所谓的这 acetone optical element， 它是怎么样的一个 element？ 它是一个圆锥形的这个 optical element， 那它可以把光线聚焦成接近像一条线一样。好，这个叫 Basel 的 array。好，那把这个 acetone element 跟这个 Gaussian 的 element 把它 combine 在一起的时候，它就可以达到把这个 depth of field extend 的一个效果。好。那这是说明的这个影片哈，其实我们这个 acetone lens 在我们的很多 medical devices 里面是都有应用到啊，包括我们的一些雷射的机器，它去做聚焦的时候哈，我们可以看到它就是一个圆锥形的一个镜片，好，那这个镜片它可以让我们在不同的距离可以有很好的一个焦点，大家可以看到它在移动，好，前后移动的时候虽然移动，但是这个聚焦还是非常的清晰。好，所以这个它是它的这个一个特点哈。那我们看 VVT， 其实我们从它的切面的结构来讲，它其实也是类似这个原理哦。它这个是有first transition surface 跟 second transition surface。好，那我们可以看到这个first transition surface， 大家可以看到这个形状是一个梯形，对不对 ？trapezoid shaped。The trapezoid is a cone with the tip shaved off。好，就是把我们这个圆锥的尖端把它切掉。好，所以这个地方它就可以有这个延长焦段的一个作用。好，那这个 second transition surface 是做什么？这边其实有一点点的 ADD power。好，所以整个来讲的话，就是说我们这个 first zone。把这个一个 spot 把它延长了以后，那经过这个中间的 ADD power， 再把它往前拉近，好，这样就可以达到看远中近的一个效果，好，就可以把它弄成像一个长长的一个剑，好，这样子的一个光柱，好，那这个Elon 呢 ，Elon 其实也是刚才Thibault 有讲过，是用这个wavefront Zinking zone 的这个原理嘛。好，它有3个不同的curvature。好，那其实我不太知道说它这个中间这个 curvature 的power 是多少。Maybe Thibault can explain for us the power of the central zone. Similar? OK. 好，那我们可以看到这个其实它这 wavefront Zinking zone。其实也是有点类似这种斜的这种的一个道理啦哈。那这个越斜的话，慢慢的把这个两边的这个点把它拉长，让它混合在一起。好，那就最后就形成这个我们这个吹起胜利号角的一个形状。好，那我们就可以看到远中近的距离。他为什么那么开心？好，那这个刚才 Thibault 有比较过了哈。好，那这个是刚才我们有解释到为什么这个 要用这样子的一个 haptic 的设计，它其实是它的接触的这个面积会比这个传统的这个 C haptic 要大得多哈，所以它 centration 真的是蛮好的。好，那我有注意到它这边就会你放进去会发现这边有4个缺角啦。好，刚刚 Heavy 是 explain 说这是for the purpose of prevention of PCO formation。好，那事实上我猜啦，我猜因为这个角比较大，所以你如果要从 2.2 的切口切进去的话，这个把它削少一点点，它可能也可以减少整个 lens 的一个 volume 哈。那这是官方的数据哈，如果你2眼都植入的话，它大概有2个 diopter 的这个 range of field 好，那这个刚刚已经讲过了哈。那一般来讲，这个就是我们比较熟悉的这个厌水性的亚克力，那有一点点过滤蓝光的效果。那它的 AB number 比较高，好，跟 Vividity 37的话，它比较起来，它的 AB number 比较高，它的 chromatic aberration 会比较少，好，所以它的光线会更集中一点点。好，那再来就是说它的这个球面相差是0度，好，所以如果说你的这个 angle alpha 比较大，或者是说你的这个 bag 比较情况没有那么好的时候，或许这样是一个比较好的一个选择哈。那它也是可以从这个 2.2 的伤口去把它植入，好，那这个植入器其实还蛮有仪式感的。好，我们那个当过兵的都知道，我们要清枪、开保险，好，然后再瞄准以后再发射。啊，这个也是一样，它有1、2、3、4个步骤，所以整个充满了仪式感，好，会让你觉得你为病人做了一个非常了不起的一个事情。好，那我们可以看一下它这个植入的时候，要注意的就是说，它到最后这个镜片要出来的时候，会有一点点紧，所以这个旁边一定要用这个 second instrument 的去帮它固定哈。那大家可以看到这个伤口，好，这个是 2.3， 好，所以其实是差不多 2.2 的。那我们把这个后面的这个 OVD 吸掉以后，好，其实它 centration 真的是蛮好的哦，而且很 stable。大家看到这拿掉以后，这个问的是，它就好好的在这个很正中的一个位置。那大家可以看到这个中间的这个 ring 哈，很明显的可以看到，好，所以我们可以看到这个显微镜3个灯都在 central zone 这个地方。好，它跟 Vividity 在显微镜下不太一样的，就是说它的这个 ring 是很容易看到的。好 ，Vividity 的这个 ring 有时候你需要稍微眼球移动一下，靠着它的反光才看得到。好，那它这中间是2个 mm， 这是 2.2 的 mm。好，所以我们在有一些病人他的瞳孔比较小的时候，我们这个 Elon 的使用的可能性会稍微高一点，因为它稍微再小一点点。好，那再来就是这短短时间一些使用的一个经验哈。那我们用这个 Near Chart 好去做术后的一个检查啊，这个1字形哈比较容易辨认呐，好，所以病人的满意度比较高一点。好，那我们的 Candidate 哈，因为它没有这个散框的，没有 No Toric version available in Taiwan, so we select the patient with corneal astigmatism less than 1 diopter and the angle alpha less than 0.5 millimeter。好，那也不要有什么其他严重的这个疾病。好，那我应该因为我不知道我的 A constant optimization 是多少，所以一开始我都是 target emmetropia。好 ，target emmetropia。那这是case 1哈，73岁的女性哈，那她晚上要开车为什么要开车？因为要上山去种田。好，所以他常常开那个很暗的山路。那这样子的一个状况的话，我想大概大家选择3焦点的状况会可能性会比较少一点。然后他还要做一些手工艺啦，好，所以他看近的需求也是蛮多的哈。那大家可以看到他 angle alpha， 好，左边是稍微大一点点。好像这种angle alpha 比较大一点点的，有时候我个人就可能会比较考虑对多焦或3焦的考虑会多一点点。 好，那我们可以看到它的 pupil function 是非常好的哈，它的 pupil function可以2到5，好，所以它的这个功能是很好。那我们可以看到它术前presbyopic preoperative is hyperopic， 好，那它手术后2个月的话，我们可以看到我们用自动验光去量它的spherical equivalent 是差不多 -1， 好，左边的画是 -0.75， 好，是 0.75， 好，就是近视 0.75。那我们可以看到这个左眼，好 ，left eye is better， 好。那我们去做它的这个 defocus curve， 好，我们可以看到这个左边的 defocus curve 的这个 range of field 比较多一点点，好。那这个等一下我们会再讨论一下。这个 we use eye trace to measure the objective depth of focus。好，我们可以看到这个 DOF 大概都有1个diameter 以上。好，那这是它的满意度啦。哈，如果说它的满意度这个是5分是最好的，那这个 dysphotopsia 的话5分是最严重的。那我们可以看到这个病人相对上是还满意的，好，但是他有一个问题就是他有 halo， 好，这是什么时候？他在开山路的时候，好 ，this could be due to the mountain roads being too dark because he needs to drive up here for gardening。好，那这个第2个病人她是一个女性哈，她是一个退休的老板。好，那他也常常使用这个手机，他最重要的一个兴趣，好，刚才这个 Harvey 医师有提到说，我们要了解病人，好，要了解病人，深入的了解病人他是要做什么的，好，像他喜欢慢跑跟打羽毛球，那打羽毛球的话，我们可以看到 the badminton courts have very many spotlights。好，所以你如果用 trifocal lens 很多，他会觉得很困扰。好，所以我们可以看到它的 angle alpha 有一只眼睛也是比较多的哈。那 pupil function 是不错的。好，那但是它是 high myopic patient。好，所以这个就比较难取悦啦。像这样的一个病人，他可以把眼镜拿下来，可以看很近的时候，我们用这种EDOF 的 IOL 的时候，我们都要特别跟他讲。不管你怎么样，你都没有办法像你以前把眼镜拿下来的时候那么的清楚，好看近的。好，那我们可以看一下它的术后的这个右边的这个 spherical equivalent 是大概100度哈，左边大概也是100度。好，那它2边的这个 far median near 的 vision 都非常的好。好，这个大概是很满意啦。那它做出来这个 defocus curve 甚至比这个官方的数据还要来得好。好，这个是有点出乎我们的意料之外。那它的这个DOF 也是蛮漂亮的，而且它的 modulation trace function 也是非常好。好，所以他非常非常的满意。那打羽毛球的时候，我有问他，也几乎没有这个 halo 的问题。好，所以这个是非常满意的一个 case 哈。那第3个 case 他是一个男性哈，那他是文书工作，但是他晚上要开车。好，然后又在国外工作，好，那他比较伤脑筋的是，他另外一眼没有什么白内障，好，所以他只做了一个单眼，那他的 angle alpha 也是比较大的，好，那 pupil size 是 OK 的，好，那我们做完了以后，他是59岁，相对上比较年轻一点，那原来也是近视眼的哦，好，那我们可以看到，我们用自动验光机量出来是接近0度的，好，但是他现在反而他的表现没有那么好好，他的这个 near far median 的表现不是那么好。那我们去看他的 defocus curve 的话，我们可以看到他的 defocus curve 感觉上好像往左边移动，好，所以 the entire defocus curve appears to shift to the left。好 so if the autoreflectometer outcome is emmetropia, the result is less satisfactory. 好，他因为左边没有白内障，好，所以一边没有白内障的人， 你要去取悦它也是非常不容易，尤其它很年轻。你什么水晶体，老实讲，我们天然的水晶体常常它的表现都比人工水晶体要来得好。所以它只有moderate 的 satisfaction。那它也没有 halo 的一个情况。那第4个 case， 它是一个男性，73岁，也是比较老，那退休了那他就没有开车，而且他虽然用这个手机，但是你叫他看手机，把他的 line 拿出来给你看，不是要看他看什么啦，是要看他的字体大小有多大。那还好他的字体很大。那像他这个 angle alpha 还是比较大的。这个 hyperopia 的 patient， 我们用这样的水晶体，我们相对上一开始都觉得蛮开心的，因为比较好，容易胜过它。那像这右边的话，它的这个 S1 的话大概100嘛，那左边的话就是更多了。这个度数上面，因为我也不晓得为什么它会比较 shift to the myopic。但是它的这个 outcome 是蛮令人满意的啦。那这个modulation trace function 也是很好。那我们可以看到这个比较好的这只眼睛是比较接近 -0.75。spherical equivalent if close to the -0.75, the performance is better。我们可以看到右边这只眼睛就比左边这只眼睛好。那这是第五个 case， 非常年纪非常大，84岁，他只看电视啦，但是他的 chamber 非常的 shallow，那这个 cataract 非常的 dense，那所以他的这个感觉上这个 ocular surface 是比较没有那么理想的那手术前是远视，那我们3个月以后可以看到他这个右边的眼睛也是比较接近0.75 左边的这只眼睛 astigma too much， 所以相对上这左边的视力就不好，那右边的 this is better， so we can see the default curve in both eyes， 它这个 modulation trace function 就没有那么好，那这可能是因为它又 chamber shallow， 那又年纪比较大，那 cornea 的状况不是那么好的关系，所以它相对上这只眼睛这个 astigmatism 比较多的这只眼睛，它就不是那么满意。So I think the toric version is very important。那最后一个 case 呢，它是也是退休的一个 banker， 那 banker 通常都要看一些比较小的东西嘛，那但是它是一个 night driver， 所以没办法。那这个 angle alpha 也是稍微大一点。那最重要的是它有一点 mild 的 epiretina membrane。那这样的 case 我们选择这样子，它最后的术后的一个效果呢，像这个是接近-0.75， 那这个是-1.25，所以我们可以看到这个右边这只眼睛。far 的 medium near 的都表现得比较好，我们可以看到再次印证，如果说右边这是 close to the -0.75 is better， 那我们可以看到这个水晶体它的 centration 是非常好的，用这个 retroillumination 它是非常好的，那相对上它这个满意度也是算蛮高的啦，那从这些刚初期使用的一个 case 我个人的想法是因为我选的病人相对上比较老啦，因为我们刚开始试用一个新的水晶体有时候真的不太敢给太年轻的使用，万一出了问题的话，他烦你的时间会很久，所以我个人的发现就是说，他表现最好的就是你术后去打 autorefractometer 的时候，它是接近这个数值的时候，我不晓得大家使用的经验怎样了，但是我自己本身是这样。那 dysphotopsia 是不太严重的，然后就是说这个你要去 centration 相对上是很容易的，因为它那个中间的那个圈圈是很容易被 identify 出来的。然后它的这个水晶体，你在手术后看它的透明度也是非常非常高的， 好，那我想目前也没有看到有 glistening 的一个现象。好，那像这些就是一些比较好的一个 candidate。好，我想基本上这几个月使用了这么多的 case 以后，并没有给我带来太多的困扰了哈。那我觉得这是一个值得大家尝试去使用的一个片子哈。谢谢大家 ，Thank you for everyone。
好，谢谢王院长分享很宝贵的一个经验哈。那其实我自己有用过那个 Liberty 哈，刚才王院长提到那个Elon打的时候，我自己也是觉得哈，就是打的时候，就是到最后的时候就会要很紧呐。那我自己使用 Liberty 是它那个 IOL 不像我们以前看那个 IOL 就是拿出来就是一个扁扁的东西，它是一个好像一个盒子，然后呢又是一个有橘色的，看起来好像精品一样啊。所以那时候一打开的时候，我们那个开头网跟到小姐就吓一跳，说哇，这个水晶体怎么那么漂亮？这是我个人的一些经验啦。那但是这个我想这个今天我们听了这个3个我们这个讲者关于介绍一下这个 Elon 跟 Liberty， 不知道大家对于这个 IOL 有没有什么，或者是对于白内障手术啊有没有什么问题？我们大家可以利用这一点时间，大家进行讨论。那我自己分享我自己刚才讲的那个经验，就是我使用 Liberty 的经验那其实我用 Liberty 以后，因为刚才那个哈贝讲说就是要注意一下，看病人是想要什么那其实我那个病人病人是这个是一个股票族啦，都是在看股票啦结果我记得我那时候开完以后，隔天呢他打开来就很高兴就跑过来就跟我讲说我看得很清楚我说真的吗？我看一下，原来他这个股票全部都大涨了所以他特别高兴那但是他视力测量起来视力是这可以到 J1， 他看得很清楚了所以其实我自己个人对这个Liberty 这个水晶体，我是真的是很 surprise 我个人的经验是那个非常好的一个经验来，请那个
我想问一下那个
是
王梦琪王院长刚刚有提到一个嗨马尔皮的病人，他看近会不满意。那如果说还是哈比讲的一个 case 吧，我忘。反正如果嗨马尔皮，我如果把那个 target 定在更myopia而言，会不会比较好一点？建不建议这样子用？那如果说我留了150或是甚至于200度，他看近很好，有没有带来什么副作用之类的？
是，我自己一般个人的经验那个就是说我会看第一眼他的表现他的表现是远的稍微弱一点呢，还是近的稍微弱一点呢？哪一方面要加强的话，我可能就会往那个方向去稍微去多加一点点就是刚才可能用所谓的micro monovision 的一个方式去做一个微调。我个人是这样子的一个做法。那我想这个Elon这个 case， 不晓得哈比医师你的意见怎么样？都是 target metropia or micro monovision。
Usually, we would test the patient for the dominant eye. So if normally we would start with the non-dominant eye, and then we would go for the first myopia, Etienne, Jin Chu. If the patient's happy, then we'll do the same with the dominant eye. But if the patient says he wants to see farther better than for the second eye, then we will target the the first positive, the first hyperopia. There is also an effect of the pupil size. So you have to look at the pupil size, and I don't know what you would recommend, Thibault, for the pupil size. So if you want, if you have a larger pupil size, would you target more of emetropia or plano, or?
You want a pupil size more than 2.2, but we don't adjust the target regarding the pupil size.
Okay. So just go for the whatever your spherical equivalent target is. So for us, non-dominant eye, a little myopia, and the dominant eye, either plano or slight hyperopia.
Thank you。大家还没有什么问题可以请教一下？院长。
我想要请问的Harvey是有关于那个 add-on 的问题。好，就是说当你放的时候，如果说他已经做过那个亚格的 capsulotomy 的话，你会去看说他的这个 capsulotomy 的 size 的大小，去决定他要不要放吗？因为有时候他如果做的太大的时候，你会不会有点担心说你在放的时候，他就从后面 drop down to 到那个下面去
add-on lens，
是
我们不必看 capsulotomy size， 没有关系。重要你的 IOL 应该horizontal， 没有 tilt。
好，谢谢那个 Harvey。大家还没有什么问题可以请教一下。So Dr. Harvey, I have a question. We know some people with early glaucoma. Okay, I have many patients with early glaucoma. I just wonder, we can use the multifocal IOL or EDOF lens or not? Or what kinds of what severity of glaucoma you may not use the multifocal or EDOF IOL? Yeah.
No, so if there's glaucoma, we will do a visual field test and look at how much sensitivity and the scotoma. So if it's very minimal, let's say maybe it's 90% visual field index, then we can still put in the trifocal lens. But if it's worse than that, we can recommend the extended depth of focus lens.
So you use the contrast sensitivity or visual field testing, or
usually we do the visual field testing because that's part of the standard glaucoma test. But I don't know if there are any studies on contrast sensitivity as a qualifier for trifocal lens. Do you have any experience? Yeah. Maybe
Yeah,
that's a good study for you to do in National Taiwan University.
Oh, okay. Because we are about if the glaucoma deterioration, their IOL is not good for both my patient. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your. 大家有没有什么问题可以请教 ？So, Dr. Harvey, I have a question. So you say the Elon is the result is nearly compatible with VVT, okay? But I just want to know what is the advantage of Elon compared with the VVT. If the same, we just use the VVT, okay? Okay, please.
Well, for us, one of the main advantages of using the Elon is the injector system. It's much, and maybe Dr. Wang can also share, it's much easier to use the preloaded system of the Elon. It's almost foolproof. Unlike with the VVT, even the preloaded, sometimes it will get stuck, or it will be hard, or it will not come out the way that you want it to. Secondly, we seem to be getting a more smooth transition zone with the Elon. So we have not done a lot of research into patient satisfaction head-to-head with VVT and Elon, but I guess just from the patients that we've done, the few of them, they seem to be very happy. So we haven't done a head-to-head satisfaction survey, but that's also something that needs to be done. And lastly, at least in the Philippines, the Elon has a lower cost than the VVT. The VVT is priced the same as the Panoptics in the Philippines. I don't know how it is in Taiwan. So for a patient who wants to save some money, then we can use the lower cost lens. They can save some money and still get the same visual outcomes.
Okay. Thank you for your answers. Thank you. 好，大家还有没有什么问题可以要问的？如果没有的话，我想 ，OK， 那我最后一下哈，我最后好。那个大家如果没有问题，那我们很感谢我们今天3位讲者哈。那尤其感谢我们这个 Daphne 所领导的这个优势的团队哈，那给我们这个非常好的一个场地哈，那也给我们好的一个餐饮，还有一个好的一个演讲的一个内容哈。那谢谢大家的参与哈，谢谢大家，谢谢。
谢谢方副院长，谢谢。首先非常谢谢方副院长哦，担任我们的 moderator， 谢谢您，也谢谢我们王梦琴院长，谢谢您哦。对，我们那个就是2位佼佼者能够来到我们优势的，真的是我们的荣幸，也真的非常谢谢我们各位在座的医师的我们台湾的眼科的团队，就说你们都是在我们的这个优势的我想我们是一直很努力哦，希望能够代理更好的产品哦，来服务我们第一线的医师。那所以我刚才方副院长有提到，就是说不管 add on 的部分，就是说它有前房，它有一些规定哦，就是说如果前房太狭窄，或者它有黄斑部病变的话，我们不建议用 add on 这样子，所以它有一些规定的。那我想我们在座的我们北中南都有非常优秀的医师优秀的业务哈，可以提供给我们的医师在线的医师来做使用。所以 add on 现在的度数非常的齐全，如果我们医师跟主任想要使用的没问题，那告诉我们，我们可以提供我们 add on 的来使用这样。那刚才我们的王梦琪王院长也有说到，就是说我们现在 Elon 跟 Liberty 的部分哦，就是说 Liberty 目前呢，我们的度数刚刚有说到说为什么要使用我们家的 Elon， 为什么不使用 VVT 哦？那除了它有 preload 的装置之外哦，它的度数是从8度到27度，我们在台湾。那如果是要27度以上的话，我们有将近到35度，可以再给我们1个月的时间，我们可以订货进来哦。那除了这样子之后，我们还有 preload 的装置。那因为它 preload 的装置，它可以防旋转哦，所以基本上对于我们有使用过的医师，像目前在台湾医学中心大概现在是3种。好，那3种的话，星光医院，那么更新医院，那中区的话就是中山医院哦，还有彰基的体系，目前都有在使用我们家的 Liberty。那当然开业医，我们全台湾的目前的部分 Liberty 使用的医师，真的我们说真的，我们对 Liberty 一直非常的有信心，因为 Liberty 虽然大部分的医师有的都，刚才像王梦琪院长说的，他最近是比较就是一直以来，因为3焦点它因为绕射圈数太多嘛，短则14圈，高则像蔡司它有到达29圈，所以它的绕射会带给病患有太多的眩光啊。光晕的情形，但为什么 Liberty 现在目前很多的医师、很多的主任喜欢用的原因，就是说，我们目前大概将近95%的医师给我们的回馈是，基本上有一点点眩光，但是不会造成病患有 complaint。所以我觉得我很鼓励我们的主任呢，还有医师可以大胆使用我们的 Liberty 看看，因为真的 Liberty 像刚才像方副院长所说的，就是它的效果其实它在远跟近，因为我们知道我们3焦点最弱的是中间，但是因为我们 Liberty 的设计它是用零球面相差，所以它保有中间的景深，所以我就是强烈的邀请我们的医师跟主任哦，可以使用我们的 Liberty 看看，因为基本上它的度数基本上它很齐全。第二个就是它可以满足他想要看远看近的效果，这样。那Elon也是一样，Elon目前我们有 preload 的装置，我想对于我们的医师哦，有时候要装载的时候，它其实是就是让我们的医师非常的便利这样子，所以我欢迎就是我们的医师能够使用看看我们的 Liberty 跟 Elon。那我们想我们后面有我们优秀的业务的团队哦，我们北中南目前有将近16个业务哦，就是要来服务更好的服务，来提供我们的医师的需求。所以我们北区有嘉华经理哦，那我们中区有琼怡经理跟南区的圆圆经理哦，我想我们都很努力，希望提供更好的服务给我们的医师。所以医师就是我们的主任跟院长要不吝给我们指教哦，让我们优势的呢可以继续的往前进。那最后呢，也谢谢我们各位的最帅气的医师，还有最帅气的我们的美丽的主任呢，可以来到我们现场。那最后呢，我代表优质的公司，谢谢各位医师的莅临，那也祝福我们的医师健康永远健康，然后强壮。谢谢大家。那最后呢，就是我们医学会明天还有一天，然后我们优势的公司呢，在我们的摊位哦，也有摆设从小到刀片，大到乳化仪器，还有我们德国原厂的 Maleg 哦的原厂也在这边哦，明天可以 建好可以跟大家 say hello 一下。他是我们的马来西亚的原厂哦，他明天也会在我们现场做支援，所以呢，我想说，如果明天我们的医师有空，一定要到我们的摊位来签个名，好，我们有精美的礼物，然后我们的仪器呢也非常有乳化仪器的部分呢，其实是来自于瑞士的 Atelier 哦，那欢迎我们的医师来到现场可以试用，触摸一下它的手感是如何。然后我们的 Maleg 来自于德国，它基本上它是一个双锅的设计哦，用最快的速度呢可以做快消的动作。那我们的设备都非常齐全，所以很欢迎院长哦，可以来跟我们的业务来做接洽，我们随时都可以安排 demo 这样子。好，谢谢主任，谢谢院长，谢谢各位医师。那还有一点点心了哈，那我们医师就慢慢享用。那因为还有一点点红酒，如果今天没有开车的医师们，可以喝点红酒呢，要跟你的同学类似有个 party 的概念这样子。那谢谢我们医师百忙之中来到我们现场，谢谢大家。